What kept medieval farmers awake at night? Not just wolves, not just plague, not just war. The real answer was the farm itself, because every field, animal, tool, and sack of grain was part of a survival machine that could fail. From far away, a farm in the 1400s might look peaceful. A cottage, a smoky hearth, a strip of grain, a few animals, a church tower in the distance. But to the people living there, this was not a quiet country life. It was a system for staying alive. The machine was built from mud, wood, muscle, memory, and luck. It had no engine, it had no electricity. It ran on daylight, animal power, human labor, and the hope that the weather would behave at the exact moments it needed to. The farming year was a chain. Plow too late and planting slipped. Plant into bad weather and the crops suffered. Harvest too wet and grain could rot before it was safely stored. Winter was not a season at the end of the year. Winter was the test the whole year was trying to pass. Rain was not simply good or bad. Rain at the right time was life. Rain at the wrong time was hunger. Drought could shrink the crop. Frost could kill it. Flooding could turn fields into mud. A storm could flatten grain that had taken months to grow. Grain was food, but it was also rent, seed, wages, trade, and survival. A family could not simply eat everything they harvested. Some had to be saved to plant next year. Some might be owed to a lord. Some might go to the church. The pile in the barn was never just a pile. It was the future. That is why one bad harvest was terrifying. It did not only mean fewer loaves of bread. It meant less seed for next spring, weaker animals, more debt, more desperation, and a village entering winter with less room for mistakes. Animals were not background decoration. They were technology. Oxen pulled plows. Cows gave milk. Pigs turned scraps and woodland forage into meat. Chickens gave eggs. Sheep gave wool. A farm animal was food, labor, wealth, and insurance, all walking around on legs. So losing an animal could be a disaster. A dead ox was not just sad, it could mean a field was harder to plow. Work took longer, neighbors had to be begged for help, and the farm's timing fell apart. In a world with little spare capacity, one loss could echo through the year. Then there was disease. Plague was not only a medical event, it changed who was alive to work, who inherited land, who married, who left, and who had leverage. After the Black Death, labor became more valuable in some places, but fear did not vanish. It stayed in memory, in sermons, in empty houses, and in the way people watched strangers arrive. The farmer did not fully control the system. Many lived under layers of obligation, rents, labor duties, local courts, manorial rules, and the demands of people above them. Even if the field did well, someone else might have a claim on the harvest. The church shaped time, fear, and hope. Bells marked the day, holy days shaped the year. Tithes could take a portion of production. Religion offered meaning in a world where storms, sickness, and death often had no obvious explanation. It could comfort people, but it also reminded them that survival was never purely physical. And beyond the village was another threat: violence. Soldiers, raiders, feuds, or local conflict could turn years of work into smoke. A barn could burn, tools could be stolen, animals could be driven away. For a farm with little surplus, that kind of damage was not an inconvenience. It was a wound. Winter was the quiet enemy. It did not attack all at once. It measured the household slowly. How much grain was left? How much firewood? Were the animals healthy? Was anyone sick? A medieval winter was not just cold. It was a long argument with the year's mistakes. So medieval farmers were not simple people living simple lives. They were thinking inside constant risk. Nature was unpredictable. Authority was unavoidable. Death was familiar. Community mattered because isolation was dangerous. Tradition mattered because it was practical memory, the accumulated advice of people who had survived before. The medieval farm was not romantic. It was not just brutal either. It was a fragile survival machine, built from fields, animals, grain, weather, obligation, faith, and human endurance. And every night, the people inside it had to wonder whether the machine would keep working tomorrow.